Hey, yo, and we are back again. Welcome back to the channel, people. Welcome back to another live stream. Welcome back to the channel, people. Welcome back to another live stream. Today we will talk about Bitcoin short-term price outlook. We are going to talk about last night's monthly close. Going to talk about this monthly close right here. We are also going to talk about this weekly close. In the next couple hours, we are going to get a weekly close. And I also want to react to this price target of $35,000. Is Bitcoin going to $35,000 in this bear market? I'm reacting to Gareth Soloway. $35,000. Are we going to $35,000 in this bear market? Let me know. Let me know your thoughts on, $35,000 as a potential price target. We are also going to talk about the altcoin market. We are going to talk about how you can make money in this bear market because just because markets are bearish, just because price are crashing doesn't mean that you can't make profits. So it's going to be a good one. This is going to be an amazing live stream. If this is your first time right here, just do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. If this is your first time right here, just do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. We just crossed, I believe, 230 something subscribers. So really appreciate you guys. If you're watching the live stream, do me another favor, hit that like button. If you're watching the live stream, do me another big favor, hit that like button. And, I'm running a poll, so if you guys can participate. Do you think we go to $35,000 in this bear market? Yes or no? But once again, welcome back. First and foremost, I hope you guys are doing very well. I hope your weekend is going well. We are here to talk about Bitcoin. I told you get used to the $70,000 range because, we more likely are going to be here for some time. So, welcome back. Yeah. Welcome back, guys. Hopefully your weekend is going pretty well. We're not going to waste time. We're going to jump straight to it, and we are, going to start with Bitcoin. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the short-term price outlook, and then I'm going to give you my opinion on this $35,000 target. This is the worst case scenario based on Gareth Soloway's analysis. And we are going to talk about how he came up with a $35,000 target because this is not a number that he just picked up from somewhere. It came from somewhere, and of course, it came from the charts. But anyways, yeah. So let's talk about the short-term outlook. But you guys, just give me a second. Subscribe, hit the like button, and let's get it, guys. So what I want to do is I want to start with the short term. I want to talk about what you see right now in the short term. What Bitcoin is more likely to do. Well, I don't know, not what Bitcoin is more likely to do, but what you are more likely to see. All right, so on the 15 minutes, you can clearly see Bitcoin is consolidating, but it's a consolidation within a downtrend. So if you go from 90,000, we have a very clean downtrend. Lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. So if I'm looking at Bitcoin right now, areas of interest right now, I'm basically looking at this yellow line that acts as a resistance, somewhere around $79,000 if we do go up. As of right now, primary bias should be bearish. As long as we continue with lower highs and lower lows, price should continue to go down in the short term. The only way to start going up, the only way to predict, probably going back into the mid $80,000 range. Bitcoin will have to do something that looks like this. We're gonna have to break above these levels right here. I'm looking at $79,000. We're gonna have to get above that. We're gonna have to break to the other side of this yellow line. So we need to see Bitcoin somewhere around here. All right, and this could potentially take some. Well, I'm on the lower time, so yeah, you're looking at maybe the next day or the next 2 days. And once we break above this $79,000 resistance, we need to get some sort of a pullback. And the pullback needs to stay above the lows. So right now, the lows could potentially be this $75,000. So if we can put in some higher low and then you need the price to go up again, take out the highs, that gives you the ability to start looking at higher targets. And in terms of what the targets are, you'll be looking at this $85,000 target. And if we can get above $85,000 target, then you're looking at a Bitcoin that goes back into the higher $88,000, potentially $90,000. Now the question is, do I think we go back to do I think we go back into the 90s? Chances are no. I think the probabilities of going back into the 90s are less likely. And, the probabilities of a continuation of this downtrend is higher. So, in the short term, that's exactly what you will need to see, in order to speculate if Bitcoin is going back anywhere around the mid $80,000 range or in the $90,000 range. So that's basically your short-term outlook. If we overlay some indicators and some moving averages, if we go back to the 15 minutes, this is where I'm doing my work. 15 minutes, you look at EMAs. This is very clear and straightforward. As long as the price is below your moving average, the expectation should be that we will continue to the downside. So this is not looking good on the 15 minutes. If we zoom out just a little bit and we go to the 1 hour, all right, we have a breakdown right here. We have a div cross where the 21 moving average crosses below the 50 moving average. Blue line is a 21, green line is a 50. So as long as price is below the moving averages, again, the primary outlook is that price will continue down. Every time we get some sort of a rally, either the 21 EMA or the 50 is going to reject us. So the 1 hour, is very bearish to me until price can get above $79,000. Because once you break above 79,000, you are in the process of reversing the trend. You go to the 4 hour time frame, you look at the performance. There has not been a reason to be a buyer since $93,000. Price below EMAs. So every single pullback, once again, is more likely to get rejected. The 21 is going to be a major, major resistance. The 50 is going to be a major, major resistance. So in that case, the right thing to do is to stay on the sideline. If we go to the daily, let's take a look at the daily. This is only the beginning of a long-term downtrend, based on the damage that was recently done, right? Based on this breakdown right here. So if I'm looking at the daily right now, could we get some sort of a move, probably back to around $80,000? Yeah, probably yes. But I don't think, we go back to around $86,000. I really don't see that. Right? I don't think we get something back to around, the mid $80,000 range. What I think, even though the price is extremely extended from our moving averages, what I think you are more likely to see is these EMAs are going to play catch up. So, BTC might continue to go down. We might just go sideways on the daily, allow the EMAs to catch up, without really price going back up. So we might do something that looks like this. EMAs catch up and then we go down again. I'm sure if I go back to the last bear market, probably be able to pick up some plenty examples. So if I go back to the last bear market, which was right here. All right, this is exactly what I'm talking about, chat, where, you lose the bear flag or you have a breakdown and then price accelerates to the downside. We go from the mid $40,000 down to $25,000. We don't really get a pullback. At the time, I bet you at the time, these two EMAs were somewhere around, maybe somewhere around 38,000 when the price was around maybe $30,000. And then, instead of going back up to retest, like all of this right here, what actually ended up happening was, we just went sideways, allowed the moving averages to catch up. We hit the 21 moving average and then another massive leg down. So in my opinion, on the daily, this is exactly how this could potentially play out. Like, I don't think, we get a move back into the mid $80,000 range. What I think is more likely is, we continue down. We might get like a nice push up, and what I mean by that is, we might get a nasty drop. Let's just say we drop into the $60,000 range, and then we might end up with, a massive wick on the daily, and then price might go sideways for, probably a few days, allow the moving averages to catch up, and then shortly after we get another dump back into down in, I don't know, the $50,000 range. I'm just making up these numbers, but that's how I think this thing could potentially play out over the next several days. Like, I don't think, look, people are looking at this and they're thinking about some sort of a bear market rally. Guys, we just had a bear market rally right here. The prices went from $80,000 to $96,000. Now, this is a breakdown of the rally. So to me, this is the beginning of an acceleration to the downside. So as you can clearly see, the short term is bearish. When you go to the 15 minutes, this is not a bullish market. We have a clear trend, and that trend is down, is not up. You have clear lower highs and lower lows. You go to the 1 hour bearish, 4 hour bearish, the daily is bearish, and of course, we don't want to get into the weekly or monthly. We've spent more than enough time talking about that. So BTC is just, it's not looking good. And I promise you, don't get caught up when you see price go from, like, this was a jump, right here. This is the 15 minutes. We went from 75 to like 79. Guys, this is nothing. This doesn't really mean anything. What you want to see is, you want to see structures being broken. And right now, despite this move from 75,000 to 79,000, like, this has not accomplished anything. All this does is just accelerates, the next leg down. So, yeah, BTC is absolutely cooked. What I want to do now, I want to spend the next couple minutes talking about how you can make profits from the crash, how you can make profits from the bear market, because, even though you're not long in the market, even though you're not dollar cost averaging into the market, you can make profits. When the market is going down, there's immense opportunities, and you want to make sure that you take advantage of that. So let's talk about BTC, and when I do get to the segment where we analyze altcoins, I will also talk about some opportunities there. So if I'm looking at Bitcoin right now, on the daily, this is not the right time to short the market. The right time to short at BTC was probably right here, definitely right here, guys, around $89,000, $90,000 with a stop loss just right above 91,000. That was a right entry. Right now, you're gonna have to wait for a market to, if the daily is your entry, you're gonna have to wait for the market to go sideways, or you gotta have to wait for some sort of a rally. But if we go to the 15 minutes, let's talk about opportunities. So if I'm on the 15 minutes right here, to me, there's an opportunity that you can take advantage of. First and foremost, we have clear rejections right here. So this could be an entry. All right. I'm not saying to take an entry right now, but this could be an entry. And just put your stop loss just right above the previous high. So the previous high would be $78,300. I think this is not a bad trade. So if you go like this, I just don't like it right now because the market has had a big drop from $90,000 to $75,000. The expectation is always nothing goes down in a straight line, so more likely you get some sort of a bounce. So this is a very, very high risk trade. So this is not financial advice. Make sure you do your own research. But if I'm looking at this, I like this as an entry because price, very close to moving averages. Stop loss just right above the previous high, the previous lower high. So if this is an entry, all right, your stop loss is, hold on, I'm looking for a short position, not a long position. If this is the entry right here, your stop loss is just right above $78,387. This is a 1.86% risk. In terms of targets, what are we targeting? Well, let me see. In terms of targets, let me go to the daily. All right. In terms of targets, we are looking at $74,300. That is my target. So if we go back to the 15 minutes, that is your entry. The risk is 1.86. Target, we are looking for a 3% target. So this is a very good trade right here. Risking $1 to make, is it 1.5 or almost $2? Yes, this is a really good trade. Now, personally, I wouldn't take it because I'm not here for 3% moves. All right. Now, if we zoom out and we go to the weekly, I think there's a very good trade to take right here. So the weekly, I actually am very confident in this trade right here. Jumping into a short trade right here, guys, exactly $77,000. My stop loss will have to be just right above 98,000. Let's see how that looks like. So this is the entry. Stop loss, this is a big one right here, guys. All right, the stop loss is about almost 28%. And we're going to play with this because I don't think price goes back into these levels. If I'm on the weekly, my target is down here. All right, I'm having this target somewhere around 52, even like $57,000, $52,000, somewhere around here. Now, this is a 28% loss, 30% profits. I don't like trades like this, but I'm going to show you why I would take this trade. All I got to do is just kind of minimize my loss. So if I'm on the daily right here, I have a very good feeling. Let me go to the 4 hour actually. I feel very confident that the price is not going back above 85,000. To me, that is where my stop loss is going to be. Chaz, give me a second. Let me get rid of that. So entry right here. Entry right here. Stop loss just right above what? Just right above 85,000. The risk now is 10%. And remember, profits is about 30%, right? Because we're going after the low $50,000 range. All right, so we're just going to go 53,000. So to me, this is a trade that looks really good. All right, I'm risking about 10% of my capital. If I'm wrong, if I'm right, I'm getting a 30% profits. So I don't think BTC goes above 85,000. I'm looking at this level right here, and I feel very confident. All right, this is a very good entry. When you go to the weekly, all right, it looks exactly like this. So this is how you can make money in this market in the short term. Again, If you're joining me for the very first time, hopefully I'm providing value. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new, and if you haven't already, of course. Smash the like button, subscribe, and let's keep going. Now, let's talk about. I'm gonna talk about this Bitcoin $35,000 target. I'm reacting to Gareth Soloway, who recently analyzed Bitcoin, came up with a $35,000 BTC target in this bear market as the worst case scenario. Like, do I think we go to $35,000? All right, let's talk about the weekly. This is a more of a long-term outlook. So we just talked about the short-term, guys. Short terms, everything looks extremely bearish. But let's talk about the weekly. We've talked about the weekly, of course, so I don't think any of you guys is going to be very surprised of what I'm about to say right now. Something that I also want to kind of spend the next 2-3 minutes talking about is right here. We have a div cross, or at least we had a div cross recently. And I know some of you guys, probably not big when it comes to moving averages, because, these are lagging indicators. But guys, everything is lagging, all right? The only true real-time indicator is really price action. But there's value, with these EMAs when used correct and when you are very consistent with them, all right? The thing that you want to make sure that you avoid is flip-flopping and, using different moving averages, constantly. Like, you want to pick what works for you and you want to try to stick to that. So I always rely on my 21 and my 50 moving average. And on the weekly, I don't want to invest in anything where my 21 weekly is below the 50 weekly moving average. So recently we had a div cross, and I talked about this div cross right here. And this is actually something I talked about in the last bear market. Look, I wish I still had my original YouTube channel, because there's nothing that I've done these last couple of weeks that I didn't talk about, the last bear market. And in the last bear market, I was also spot on. Like, I was right on top of the entire bear market, and I was extremely bearish on BTC and altcoins, and I was absolutely right. So anyways, trust me, this is not looking good right here. I think this was it last week, all right? January 19, guys, the 21 weekly moving average crossed below the 50 weekly moving average. And this right here is deadly, all right? This is deadly right here, guys. The last time we had a bearish cross like that, you got to have to go all the way back to April of 2022. And of course, I don't have to tell you what 2022 was, what a year this was for the cryptocurrency market. And then the other last time we had a death cross, you gotta have to go back to sometimes in April of 2020. But of course, sometimes there's fake outs. All right, this was a COVID drop right here. That was a fake out. And then the other time we had a div cross. All right, you gotta go all the way back to September of 2018. September of 2018, we had a div cross. And what about the other times we had a div cross? Well, you gotta have to go back to right here, guys. This is November of 2014. And what about other times when we had a div cross? We had a div cross right here. This one, you gotta have to go all the way back to December of 2011. And what about the other time? Well, those were the only times we had a div cross. So as you can clearly see, you don't normally get many of these div crosses right here, guys. And most of them tends to be accurate, okay? The last one was very accurate. This one right here was a fake out. But my belief has always been that 2020-2021 bull market actually started back in 2019, guys. Because the cryptocurrency bull market is 3 years. BTC bull market is 3 years. And then you have 12 months of a bear market. So to me, this was because of the COVID drop. Had it not been for COVID, I don't think we were going to get a a death cross, but it doesn't even matter though. And then you go back to 2018, very accurate. You go back to 2014, very, very accurate. You go back to the one from 2012. Now, this is early on in the bull market, of course. This was the one that, this one and the COVID one, those were the fake outs. So, you can clearly see that this is an indicator that you must, all right, honestly, you got to take this one very serious, because if you don't, yeah, it's going to be brutal. And I don't think your portfolio is going to appreciate, the outcome of it if you are still in the market, at least for those 6 to 12 months of a bear market. So, I'm looking at this, and, to me, this is not looking good. And my prediction is that over the next 6 to 12 months, I'm looking at end of 2026. Like, this is not, it's not going to be pretty. There's going to be rallies. There's going to be big, big rallies. But those rallies, are going to be bear market rallies. Those are going to provide the momentum. Those are going to provide, the momentum for the next major leg down. So this is not looking good. Let's bring back the price again. So when you overlay the price, can clearly see retested a 21 weekly moving average, something that we talked about, got rejected. And look at this, guys. Yo, chat, give me a second. All right. We are back. I'm back again, guys. So, where was I? So, yeah, I think I was talking about how this is a dev cross and, price is definitely going lower. All right, let me react to this $35,000 price target. I do apologize, but thank you guys for sticking around. Once again, guys, look, if this is your first time right here, subscribe, smash the like button. I'm sure you are going to appreciate the content. So yeah, let me react to this. I'm not gonna play the video because I don't want to lose my channel. I'm just gonna kind of give you guys my thoughts on this $35,000 target, and I will explain to you how Gareth Soloway came up with a $35,000 target. So, do I think Bitcoin is going to $35,000 in this bear market? Once again, I'm reacting to Gareth Soloway. He's predicting, all right, based on. So this is based on what looks like a head and shoulders pattern. So Gareth Soloway's $35,000 target is based on this potential. I don't know if this looks like a head and shoulders. I mean, you guys, you make that decision. So this would be the right shoulder. This would be, the neck right here. No, this would be the head right here. And this would be the right shoulder. So based on his prediction is that, this is your neckline right here, guys. So based on his prediction is that, if you go from the top right here all the way down to the neckline, once we do get a breakdown, so meaning if the price goes below $74,000, the target is this right here, guys. This gives you a target that looks, did I do this correctly? I think that's exactly how he looked at it. Yeah, it's exactly how he looked at it. But he's going from $82,000 to $35,000. I think he is using the price range. I think that's how he's looking at it. So he's going like this, and he's going from here. This is giving me a $47,000 target. Is that because I'm using? Let me go right here. So if we do this, I think we should be, yeah, that makes a big difference. So if we do this and we go from right here, well, this is giving me a $27,000 target. Interesting. So let me go back to the price range. Let me go from up here all the way down. I think this is how he's looking at it. And then you go from right here. Yeah, somewhere. So this one is giving me somewhere around 30 something, but he's going from, I think he's going from 82,000. Is that what that looks like? Let me see. Yeah, he's going from like 80. He's going from like 80 something thousand. He's going from, well, actually, no, he's going from the top. Is he going from the top? Anyways, look, doesn't even matter. So he is basically saying that, this is a head and shoulders pattern. And once we do get a breakdown, if we take out the neck, it gives us a target of 35,000. So do I think we go to $35,000? Guys, honestly, I'm going to say probably. Right? I'm just going to say probably. Look, I think more likely we're looking at this $50,000 range. I think $50,000 is more likely. And I'm also going to say that when you go to the monthly, all right, I want to make sure I point this out. If you go to the monthly, is it a monthly I was looking at the other day, or was it was it a yearly candles? I was looking at something. Anyways, if you go to the monthly, guys, I'm going to say this, okay? $38,000 is also legit because I think there's a likelihood, we get rid of the entire gains of 2024. Like I really think we get rid of the entire 2024 gains. So that puts us, somewhere around 38,000. So, do I think $35,000 is a potential target? I'm gonna say, yeah, probably. If if I think we can hit 38 and 35, there's really no difference. But my target is 50,000. I think $50,000 looks, very clear. Probably just a little below 50,000. But 38,000 is also something that I'm going to keep my eyes on, because I really, really believe. Look, the reason I think we can get rid of, the entire 2024 gains is because we don't have any gains in 2025. If you look at 2025 yearly candle right here, guys, it's actually red. Like we don't have anything to get rid of. So I'm looking at 2024, and I really, really believe we can wipe out the entire gains from 2024. So it's going to be brutal. And when you think about, historical drawdowns, like those bear market crash percentage, to $38,000, guys, this is like a 69, let's just call it a 70% drop. All right, going from the absolute top. And then when you look at $48,000, like this is a 60% drop. So I'm willing to bet that this bear market is between 60 to 70%. I don't think we get more than a 70% crash. You look at the last bear market, I think we had like 76%. This is the last bear market. Yeah, we had 76%. I think this is going to be diminished returns. It won't be 76, but I do believe somewhere between 60 and 70% is very likely. So what that means is this. Look, if the price is down about 55%, forget about trying to time the bottom. Start accumulating. Start building a position for the next bull market. I believe if you see the price of Bitcoin somewhere around here, guys, the right thing to do is to start a position. And maybe your dollar cost average, let's say that the bottom comes in at 38,000. If you start accumulating around 55,000 and you continue to add on to your position, by the time you buy the absolute bottom, your average price is probably 45,000. I think that is a very good average to have, going into the next bull market. So $35,000 Gareth Soloway target, I'm gonna say it's very likely. All right, not very, very, but it's definitely likely. It's going to be it's going to be a brutal 2026. If I'm going to be very honest with you guys, like this to me, it's only the beginning. We're down about 40%. You may think, the worst is behind us, but no, I think the worst is ahead of us. And what if, now this is a big what if. What if Michael Saylor is liquidated? All right, can you imagine if Saylor is liquidated, guys? Like, do you know what that could potentially do to the price of Bitcoin? I mean, we are talking about, is this $60 billion in asset? How much Bitcoin? How much Bitcoin? Is this Saylor or should I say MicroStrategy? So MicroStrategy is got 712,000 Bitcoin. That is worth $54.19 billion. And the average price, chat, check this out. The average price is $76,000. So anytime the price of Bitcoin is below 76, strategy is in a negative. So do we know his liquidation target? It's definitely not 76,000 because he would have been liquidated last night, literally. Because I think last night we had a big drop that took us, we went below 76,000. So he would have been liquidated at $76,000. So what is Sailor liquidation? Is that even a thing? Would that even be public? Let me see. It's not. It's not looking great for Michael Saylor. And if we have a 12 months of a bear market, can you imagine? Michael Saylor does not have. Oh yeah, see, this is like. Cause I'm trying to see if I can actually Google this. Michael Saylor's company strategy, blah 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 blah. So they got long term, blah, blah blah. So this is what I got when I first looked it up. So they don't have a specific or near term Bitcoin liquidation price because their holdings are primary finance with long term convertible debt. Interesting. If it can be liquidated, then someone else, but I promise you guys, someone else is going to get liquidated. It might not be Sailor, but someone else is going to get liquidated. So, like, that's how you get to 35,000. You know, for going to $35,000, it's not, we're not just going to hit 35,000. You know, somebody's going to go under. If it's not Sailor, yo, there got to be someone else out there. Anyways, BTC is just not looking good, both in the short term and in the long term. And I mean, the weakness of this market is truly remarkable. You know, the weakness of this market is truly remarkable. There is something else that I also wanted to talk about, and this is something that I don't want to say I'm very passionate about, but I was on X, I think earlier today, and I saw something, and I'm like, yo, what are you talking about? So, I don't know how many of you guys remember last year, all right? Sometimes last year there was this talk about how Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market were going to do very well because of the M2 money supply, which, look, I never bought the argument. And then, you know, we in 2026 right now, there's this new thing that, let me look it up because it's actually going around. I think it is the ISM, which is the manufacturer. Hold on, Chaz, give me a second. I think Raul Paul is the one that's basically driving this narrative. I think this is the guy that's driving this narrative. And Chad, you got to be careful out there. Look, there is always going to be a reason the market is going to do something. In my opinion, look, I don't want to waste time kind of looking for it, but I'm sure I'll probably comment on someone's post or something out there. Yeah, right here, guys, right? Why is Marco, all right, Macro, Jesus Christ, why is Macro in crypto summer, and why does it matter? There's a whole, look, this is a whole write-up. You guys can, look, you can read this. I don't want to spend time reading this. But anyways, look, one of the argument that is made is that, let me actually, I think I should be able to pull up the, oh my gosh, where is the, I highlighted the section that I wanted to comment on, but I don't know what. Did I not share that? Anyways, look, guys, one of the arguments is that, you know, ISM is going to be the reason the cryptocurrency market, Bitcoin are going to do very well. Gotta have to be a little bit more patient. Yo, that was a thesis from 2024. Chat, we in 2026 right now. The market has not done anything. So, The market didn't do anything in 2024, 2025. All of the sudden in 2026, the thesis from 2024 is going to be the reason BTC and the cryptocurrency market go up. I don't think so. So look, in my opinion, you got to do what you got to do, but whatever you choose to do as a reason you should be a buyer and a seller when it comes to this market, it's got to stay exactly that. So what I mean by that, guys, look, if you do fundamental research, then stick to fundamental research and make sure the reason you jump in the market, the reason you buy BTC, the reason you buy altcoins is because of those fundamentals. If you do technical analysis, make sure you get in the market based on technical analysis. This is what I do. I rely on technical analysis. I don't care about the fundamentals of any of this stuff. Now, I mean, fundamentals, do I care about the fundamentals of Bitcoin? Of course, guys. Right? I believe in the fundamentals long term. But in terms of, do I buy, do I sell Bitcoin? It's always based on the chart. Right? I'm always looking at, TA wise, is there a reason for me to be a buyer? Is there a reason for me to stay on the sideline? Like, what I don't want to do is I don't want to flip-flop, and I don't want to try to come up with a reason that is outside of my control of why the market is going to do this. In 2025, when they were talking about M2 supply, that the supply of money is going to be the reason the market was going to do well, I never bought the argument. Right? I always look at the chart, and I always made my decision based on the chart. Now, I'm not saying technical analysis is the greatest thing and everybody should rely on it. Right? But what I'm saying is, we in 2026, ISM, that was in 2024. Market didn't do anything. That was in 2024. M2 supply, that was in 2025. Markets didn't do anything. So we in 2026. Are we going back to ISM? Is 2027? Are we going to go back to M2 money supply? Are we going to pick something else? Like those are the questions that I'm asking. So anyways, let's get back to TA because, this is why you guys are watching. Bitcoin is not looking good. Let's talk about altcoins. Look, I'm not going to talk about the long-term outlook because I've already talked about it. None of these altcoins look good. XRP, I'm looking at a drop all the way down in the 70 cents range. Like, this is only the beginning of this crash that's coming. But let's talk about, where are we, where do we see the price of XRP in the short term? Well, if you go to the 1 hour, trend-wise, we are in a very, very clear downtrend. All you see is lower highs and lower lows. We can start from right here around $1.94, or we can even start all the way up here around $2.18, or we can even start all the way up here around $2.41. The truth is, this entire crash is very clean, straightforward, and there is absolutely nothing that we can do about it. So my expectation on XRP is a continuation of exactly what we have right here. I'm expecting the price to continue down. There is going to be rallies just like this one right here. There's going to be rallies just like this one right here. But in terms of the overall trend, I don't see the trend changing anytime soon. If you are looking for a reason to long XRP in the short term, well, let's talk about exactly what we are going to need to see. This is a major resistance. Short term, $1.67. That is a major resistance. This is a major low right here, $1.50. All right. So this pullback right here, we need to see a higher low put in. So let's say this is the end of this pullback. We need to see this move, take out this $1.68. So you need to get something like this. And then you need to get the next pullback. And if the next pullback can give you a higher low, so let's say we stop somewhere around $1.60, then you have a reason to be a buyer. And let's talk about targets. So if this is your entry, let's say $1.66 is your entry. What I would say is put your stop loss just right below $1.57. So put your stop loss just right here, just right below $1.57. And in terms of targets, I'm gonna say we are going to target somewhere around $1.81. All right. I'm looking at this $1.81, and I'm also looking at $1.90. So those will be my targets. So let's see what this looks like. So if this is the entry, your first target is a 9% move. Your second target is a 15% move. In terms of risk, how much are we risking? If this is our entry, the risk is about 5%. Okay, I think this is a trade that makes sense, right? Risk is about half of my profits on my first target. And if it goes higher, even more profits and less risk. So this is exactly how I would play XRP. But as of right now, this is about waiting, not doing anything. And when opportunities are presented, and of course you want to take advantage of it. I am more in favor of shorting XRP than actually longing. So let's see what would be the best approach if you were looking for a short trade. I would like to see a rally. It looks like we actually just got one. All right. So this rally right here, I'm just going to put a resistance right there. And I'm going to put another one right here. I think XRP probably will not go back above it. I'm just gonna say this. I think we are done with $1.80. I think price trades below that. So, anyways, look, if we can get another rally, I'm in favor of shorting XRP. So let's just say my entry was, let's just say $1. Let's just say this is the entry right here. I'm taking a risk of. Let's do this. If this is an entry, I'm taking a risk of just about 12%. My target based on this trade will have to be around $1. I think that is the only way a trade like this will make sense to me. So I'm going after a 35% move. My risk is about 10%. I absolutely like it. So I actually think this is a really, really good trade. If price can come back up, even much better. And then once we go below this $1.50, then you can readjust your stop loss. You actually bring it all the way down to around like $1.68. All right. Now the risk is only about 5%, and your profits, like risk to reward ratio, like even better. So yeah, I like this. If you go to the weekly, you can clearly see. Look, I mean, we don't have to sugarcoat this because I don't care about people's feelings. This is the beginning of a massive weekly push into, I mean, honestly, 89, 90 cents. I think this is exactly what we have. We had our weekly bear market rally, from $1.77 back to $2.40. You guys may remember when the price of XRP was right here. I told you, hey, take your profits, get out of your position. Most likely, we have already topped, and I was absolutely spot on. Not only that, look, we just had a diff cross. Once again, our 21 weekly moving average has crossed below the 50. That is not a good sign, guys. The last time we had a diff cross, I know you guys might not believe this, but you gotta have to go all the way back to March of 2022. Chat, March of 2022, price of XRP is around 82 cents. We go from 82 cents down to 20 cents. I mean, 30 cents, not 20, 30 cents. What a disaster. So I'm looking at exactly the same performance. All right. I am looking at exactly the same performance. And this is why when it comes to this market, my primary bias is bearish. Right? It's bearish. Like there's nothing, absolutely nothing, guys. There's nothing that's going to change my opinion on this market. Not right now. Oh, I don't want to say nothing. like, do you know what kind of work this market would need to put up for me to change my opinion? It's gonna take weeks. Like 1 week, if we get like a crazy pump in 1 or 2 weeks, I wouldn't change my opinion. Because if you want to reverse the weekly trend, yeah, it's gonna take time. It's gonna take weeks. It could potentially take months. So you want to make sure you don't rush into decisions and end up getting hurt in the process. Any update? What would happen to Mara and CleanSpark after the BTC drop this weekend? That is a fantastic question. To be very honest, my prediction is that the miners are going to gap down when the markets open tomorrow. The miners are more likely going to gap down. And the fact that Bitcoin lost $80,000, I mean, it's terrible. Now, when you look at Mara chart looks really bad. I'm not even gonna lie I don't think let me put it all up. So Mara chart always looked bad to me. Like, this thing looked terrible even before the price of BTC did anything. The one that was actually looking pretty good is Riot. Riot, CleanSpark, Iran. Like, these are some really good looking charts. So, we're looking at Riot, $15.47. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if price is back at the 50 weekly moving average, and that's around $14. And we could potentially be around $12, actually. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if we gap down. I'll be very surprised. But this chart to me was looking really good. But of course, the damage is just, it's way, way too much. But, I was looking at this pullback as, hey, this is your breakout. Normally when you get a breakout, you get a pullback. So this is a retest of the breakout. So I'm okay with Riot. As long as price, I'm gonna say long as price stays above this $12.70. The trend is up. But once we go below that, it's over. Yeah, once you go below $12.70, the trend is definitely over. Price is below my 50 weekly moving average. I'm not a fan of anything that is trading below their 50 weekly moving average. I need my price to be above the 50. So I'm looking at these miners. Tomorrow is gonna be it's gonna be a wild day in the market. You look at Iran. So Iran, there's an argument. You can make an argument that we actually topped. And the reason I think we actually topped is because this is more like a double top right here. And I look at this. I know it's not there yet, but I look at this, and to me, this could potentially be a weekly lower high. So if the price comes back down, I think chances are this was a weekly lower high. The top is already in. And once we go below $33, the bull market is officially over. Like, Iran's bull market is officially over if price was to drop below $33. And let's be honest, guys. Look, if your position was around $10, let's say you got in around $10 or anywhere below 10. Once the price was in the 60s and 70s, I hope you took profits. Right? There's crazy predictions out there. It's going to $100, going to $200. That's fine. But if you put $10,000 in this project below $10, and that $10,000 is worth closer to $100,000 or somewhere above $100,000, and you didn't take profits because you were waiting for $200, the only person you blame is yourself, if we're being honest. The only person that you can possibly blame is nothing but yourself. So, markets are not looking good. I don't think I'm going to continue on because there's really nothing else to talk about. Tomorrow I will take my time once the markets are open, and we will talk about, the miners. We will talk about altcoins. We'll talk about a bunch of this stuff. Ethereum. I don't know how many of you guys were here, but this was my prediction. I told you guys Ethereum is going down to $2,100. Look, We got to 2200, guys. We got to 2200, but I think not only are we going down to my target, I mean, we basically at my target if we are going to be honest. But I believe Ethereum is potentially going somewhere around. What about below 100? Excuse me. What about below $1,000? Like Ethereum could easily trade below $1,000. So, anyways, let me see. I know I talked about Ethereum somewhere around here. Oh, right here. Yeah, right here, guys. Right here. Look, Ethereum $2,900. Oh my gosh. I was talking about this bullish divergency and what you will need to see before you long Ethereum. But okay, this is Solana. Yeah, Solana, man. Solana, man. Holy smoke, man. Let me see. It's about 9 days ago. Ethereum, yeah, right here, look. Right here. Chat. I mean, we got it. It's right here. Oh my gosh. Tell me I have my Ethereum outlook spot on. I know I did. Come on, guys. Come on. There we go. Right there. Look. I'm bringing it all the way down. Bring it all the way down. Don't stop it there. Take it all the way down. Come on. So, yeah, that was Ethereum. You know, around 3,000. I was like, hey, guys, look. It's just fake, man. And you see the rally. Look, these are the rallies that was playing with a lot of you guys' emotions. This right here, I mean, 100% spot on. Look at it right here, guys. Right there. Look. Yeah, you're going to get a rally, but we're going to get rejected. I think I know exactly what I said here. We're going to get rejected, and you're going to start when the price is going up, you may start thinking, woo, we back again. But no. No. Let me see. Can we play this? I think we are going to get rejected somewhere around here. Oh, my gosh. Spot on. Somewhere around here. You know, maybe somewhere around $3,100. But I'm just going to say, I think we get rejected. I think we are going to get rejected somewhere around here. If we make up here, I think we get rejected. And, you know, we get a move down in the low $2,000 range. That is basically my outlook on Ethereum. It's not. It's right there, guys. I was right there. Ethereum at $3,000. And I was looking at the rally and I was like, guys, it's not looking good. You know, I think we're going to get rejected. And I think we're going to get the move down in the low $3,000 range. $2,000 range. And look at, here we are, man. Here we are. I mean, look, I'm not going to say I wish because if you short the market, you should have shorted back here. Literally give you guys the, you know, the trades. We talked about Zcash, right? Let me kind of, you know, wrap this thing up. Guys, we talked about Zcash. Remember, I was the person that was telling you that Zcash was done. All right, when Zcash was around $700, like I have the, you know, I have the receipts, guys. If you wanna, chat, if you wanna do this, if you wanna take advantage of these opportunities, join my Discord. It's about $200 for 6 months, $350 for the entire year. So extremely affordable. This is Zcash. I called Zcash literally around $700. I say, guys, Zcash, in my opinion, it has already topped. Look, it's right here, guys. Zcash was around $708. At the time, this was my outlook on Zcash. This is 11/16/2025. Zcash probably topping here. Only way to continue higher, it needs to break above $746. As long as it doesn't break above $746 with a nice, clear daily or weekly candle above $746, it is over. And of course, guys, I mean, you go back and you look at the performance. This was a rally. We needed to break above $746. Got rejected. beginning of a pullback, and then we had this massive weekly lower high bounce. Look, so I'm gonna tell you this, right? You see this right here? To me, this looks very, very similar to IRENs. So if I'm looking at IREN right now, I think this is exactly what we got. And this right here, guys, I gotta be very honest. Last weekly close was extremely bearish. The fact that the price went up to around $63, but we still closed the week all the way below $58, to me, I think that is a sign that the top is in, and this could potentially be the beginning of a retest of this $33 support. But I think we lose $33 and we dump all the way back. Chat, just give it a couple months. Just give it a couple months, man. I think just give it a couple months, guys. But I think we are done. Yeah. Just give it a couple months, guys. But I believe we are done. So if actually look at this, right? Let's go to the 1 hour. So do you see this right here? If we go to the 1 hour, because the 1 hour is going to give us some info. So if we on the 1 hour right here, okay, this is a little bit too early, but let's see the next 1 hour rally, okay? But also, this is not even looking good if we are going to be honest. It looks like we have broken this trend right here. So this is a trend line. If we start from here, guys, this is not looking good to me. So if we do get a rally, let's say price goes back up. If we put in a lower high on this 1 hour, I think that's a big confirmation that the move is actually over. And you're looking at the beginning of a massive move, down back to $33. I think you're looking at a big move down to $33. Just wait until, tomorrow we might gap down. Like tomorrow we might drop all the way down in the 40s. But it's going to be some sort of a rally at some point. So when you do get a rally, keep your eyes on a lower high. If we get a lower high on the 1 hour, I think that is a clear top signal. So let me give you an example using Zcash, because I think Zcash is a perfect representation of what we have with IREN. So this was Zcash, right? You want to sit down? So this was Zcash, right? Zcash, let's go back to the weekly. What I want to do is I want to point out this top right here. So this was the top. This was the top right here. And then you get the following week, this right here, price goes above the previous high and then ended up closing below. So this was the top, right? When you go to the 1 hour, let me kind of highlight this. Damn, does that even work? All right, when you go to the 1 hour, hopefully that does the trick. When you go back to the 1 hour, what do we have? Yeah, it's right here, guys. Look, on the 1 hour, look, this is the top. This is what I meant to highlight. I think something like this. You start getting these lower highs right here. That was the end of the move. And then the retracement, of course, brought us all the way back where? Look at this, guys. All the way back to the initial of this impulse move. Like this was the beginning of this entire move. So basically retrace the entire move. So if I'm looking at IREN, I think exactly the same thing is about to play out. You just got to give it some time. So let's go back to IREN. So this is actually a very good shorting opportunity. So if you go to the 1 hour, you're looking at IREN. All right, this is a pullback right here. Remember, we had a nasty weekly close. There is no reason. If the market is bullish, there is no reason for last week to end up looking like this. Absolutely not. So if this was a bullish market, we should have closed above $58. Like we should have had a beautiful weekly close above 58. But guess what? That's not what we got. So if we go to the 1 hour, small data right here. All right, we got some lower highs already. Soon we're going to get a death cross from this 21 EMA going below the 50. Hey, what's wrong with you? And then after that, we're going to get a rally. This is the rally that's coming after. Look, we might gap down, but I mean, who cares, right? But there's going to be a rally. There's going to be a lower high. That's going to be your confirmation that it is actually over. The only way, look, the only way for iron to redeem itself is got to have to go above $63. That is the only way, guys. If it doesn't go above $63.53, forget it. It is over. And when you go back a couple of weeks from now, this one is going to be clear, but this was nothing but, a lower high on the weekly. Once that is put in. Go to mommy. All right, that is going to be clear. It's just not clear right now because it's extremely early. You got to have to give it at least 4 weeks, guys. When price is back here, you look back and you realize, oh, that was actually over. All right, the only way right now is we got to get above this 63, 50 something. So, yeah, this market, guys, we are cooked, man. Absolutely cooked. And I know, look, this is not the most popular thing to say, but, yeah, we are absolutely cooked. So that was, Zcash basically. Called the Zcash exactly at the top, and it's been down ever since. And of course, look, I gave targets. All right, first 439, boom, target hit. $300. That's exactly where we are right now. The next target, guys, is about $200. So I'm looking at this support right here. And then right after that, look, you got $80. Zcash, you got $80. 2026 it's going to be brutal. You got to embrace times like this. Times like this are going to make you a better investor, and they're going to provide opportunities, of course. So, yeah. Chat, appreciate you guys. I want to do this again tomorrow. If you tuned in for the first time, just do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button, guys. I live stream mostly every single day. Time-wise, I'm all over the place because, whenever I find time is when I live stream. Maybe probably in the future, I will try to be more consistent and have a specific time when I do these live streams so you guys can get used to my schedule. But, yeah, things are kind of wild right now. So, whenever I have time, I just jump on the computer and I just hit, streaming, and we just go that we just go like that. But other than that, look, if you are new here and this was your first time watching, if you want to know, how do I normally analyze the market? Do I, tend to get it right and wrong? Yeah, just go over my, my live streams, every single one of these updates. All right, you kind of get an idea of what we are all about. I am not a moon boy. I'm not a perma. Look, I'm somewhere in between. If a market is bullish, I'm bullish on the market. If the market is bearish, I'm bearish on the market. I'm never always bullish. I'm never always bearish. I'm just, hey, this is what the market is giving us. This is exactly how I'm rocking with the market. So anyways, I hope you guys are having a fantastic Sunday. Hopefully your weekend is going lovely. I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is a big day. Tomorrow is a big day for the miners. What else? MicroStrategy. Oh, guys, I have a position. We could potentially be in the low $100 range. Like, we already at 140 something. We could potentially be lower. Like, strategy, MSTR, tomorrow is going to be nasty. I'm going to be very surprised if we don't gap down into crazy targets. Anyways, appreciate you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. I will see you tomorrow.